We're going to get really honest today. Are you ready? I have been the worst bottleneck in my own business. Just ask my team, they will tell you. And the wild part is, I know better. I have known better for over 10 years. So I first learned this lesson in 2014 when honestly, I was so new in business that this was really hard to put it into practice. But as my businesses have changed and grown over the years, and I actually do have more support around me now, I still catch myself holding on to things that I have absolutely no business doing. So, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, but Lacey doesn't get it, like my business actually does need me to do all of these things. I promise you, I do get it and I have lived it. And I am not preaching at you from the top of the mountain today. I'm sitting right next to you. I'm sitting across from you at a coffee shop, friend to friend. I just happen to have a lot of years of practice in trying to climb out of the habit of holding it all. You're listening to Ready, Fire, Aim, a podcast about wrangling the chaos of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Lacy Arant. Let's dive in. Okay, welcome to episode 4. We are 4 episodes into walking through the brand identity matrix, 5 components every single brand and business needs to operate from a place of clarity. So we've talked about the problem you actually solve. We've gone through positioning yourself, even using exclusion. And then we started to craft your solution statement. And so today we're getting into, honestly, the conversation that I'm the most excited about having. Today we're talking about why brand strategy should belong to the business and not to the founder. I'm fully prepared to ruffle some feathers today, but I want you to stay with me. I think this is such an important thing, maybe the most important thing or theme that is going to be recurring on this show ever. If the only person who can run your business is you, if every decision, every email, every sales call has to flow through you, you don't have a business. You have a job that is paying you in stress. And the brand that you've built is not actually a brand. It's just you with a logo on top of it. And I know that's a lot coming out of the gate. And it might be a little triggering. If it is, it actually means that you're in the right spot today. Okay, so let me back up. In 2014, I had opened a Pilates studio in Starkville, Mississippi. And one of my financial advisors at the time encouraged me to join a program called Strategic Coach. You may be familiar with Dan Sullivan. He's written a ton of books. Dan Sullivan and his business partner developed Strategic Coach. It is an incredible organization. It's a year-long program for entrepreneurs, and I was in it from 2014 until really just last year. Took a couple of breaks for pregnancies and that sort of thing, but basically a decade of my life. And I so vividly remember sitting in that conference room in an Atlanta hotel and doing the very first exercise. This was the first thing that they taught us. And even though I didn't really know exactly how to apply it in my business at the time, it genuinely rewired the way I think about business. And it is this: a business cannot grow or scale if every single task and decision has to run or flow through the founder. That's it. It sounds simple, and it is simple, but it is not easy. Because what they were really teaching us was not even about just delegation. It was about identifying, and this is the part I want you to hear, the right people or the right tools or the right resources that you can empower to get things done. And the more things that you can take off of your plate and put onto people who actually enjoy doing them, the faster everything can start moving, like warp speed faster. I am telling you right now, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I found out that there are actually people in this world who love an Excel document. I had no clue. That is not me. But that lesson changed my entire trajectory in owning businesses. And I'm so grateful I learned it 10 years ago because I cannot imagine where I would be now if I was just now figuring this out. And I can recognize this so easily and almost immediately in the brands and the businesses that I work with. Even though it's something I still struggle with, it's always easier to see something in someone else, but I can identify in an instant if a founder or a business owner that I'm working with is, really struggling with letting go of tasks and delegating to the right people in the right way in their businesses. And so I have to tell you this also, knowing this and doing it well are two entirely different things. And here's what's funny, the tasks that I hold on to so tightly, the ones I tell myself, oh, only I can do that. The ones I cling to because I think I'm protecting the quality of them or my client's experience, those are the tasks that go wrong every single time, even when my whole intention in holding on to them was the exact opposite. I've watched myself in real time drop a ball that someone on my team could have caught easily. And not only would they have caught it, they would have done it faster and better than me. And that has happened so many more times than I would like to admit to you. And so when I tell you that I get the bottleneck thing, I truly get it. And I have paid massive consequences for it. I still do sometimes. I think the reason this happens, at least for me, is some combination of control and fear. Control because I built this thing and I have a very specific picture in my head of how it should look and feel and sound. And not just my brand, but all of our services and our offerings. And fear because what if I hand it off and they don't do it the way that I would have done it? What if it goes wrong? What if the client notices? But the irony, and I don't want you to miss this, is that the things going wrong are almost always a direct result of me being the bottleneck, not the result of me letting them go. The bottleneck is the failure point, not my team, not the systems that we have set up that we are or are not using. It's me. And so I want to tie this back to brand strategy because that's what we're talking about today. When your brand strategy lives inside your head, when the only person who knows how to talk about your business, write about your business, sell your business or your services is you, it's a liability. It feels like a strength when you're a small business. And it feels like it's proof that, your business is your own, but it's actually the thing that is going to keep you trapped. Because here's what happens. You cannot take a vacation because no one else can answer the inquiries you get. You can't hire because nobody else can represent your brand the way that you would. You can't grow past a certain ceiling because the ceiling is your own capacity. Do not miss that. Your ceiling is your capacity. And every time you try to step away, the whole machine gets wobbly because the machine is you. Brand strategy that lives in the business, however, is the opposite. It is a process, a system, a shared language that your team can pick up and run with. It's the solution statement that we built in episode 3, written down and used to operate day in and day out. It's the positioning from episode 2, made repeatable, right? It's the problem you solve, articulated so clearly that any team member can speak this language on a sales call. It's everything about what we've been building together so far, but it's extracted from your brain and it is put somewhere in your business where it can actually be put to use. And now, I don't mean that just anyone in your business should be doing any task. There is a method here that we will dig in deeper into on another episode. But just for today, I want to have you consider this thought. Could you be bottlenecking the growth of your business? Could it be impacting your client experience? I know I'm guilty, but I do also know how to fix it. So, really quick, let's talk about the difference between a brand and a personality. We're also going to touch on a personal brand. These are all different things. I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that your personality doesn't matter. It does in a massive way. You are the founder, the visionary, your taste, your instincts, your voice, all of this matters so much. But there's a huge difference between informing the brand and being the brand. The first one of those, informing the brand, that builds a business. The second one, being the brand, that one builds a job. And so I want to give you a real example, two of them actually. The first is I have a friend who has worked corporately for years and was incredibly valuable to their company. This was a high demand, on all the time. The phone went off at all hours of the day and night. And I would tease them and say, you don't take vacations, you take trips. because you never get a break, right? And a couple years ago, they opened a small business and they left that job. And it has been really hard for them to make the shift in their mindset. They're used to doing it all. And hear me say this person is extremely high capacity. They truly can handle a lot. And I think that's true for a lot of us who are founders and entrepreneurs, right? We get into this work because our capacity is quite big. But should they be handling it on their own? In my mind, the goal of building a business is for freedom, freedom of time, money, and purpose. All things we'll talk about in more depth as we go. But if you've started a business and you're feeling less free than you ever have, I would suggest to you that you're doing it wrong. About a year ago, a business came to us and they were rebranding. And they were rebranding with the goal of franchising one day. And how we explained this to them was up until that point, they were the business. The business was them. They were what made it special and unique. And so we had to do the work of building out every single part that I'm teaching you through this series for the business. Now, their personality, their uniqueness informed the brand and the business, but the business now has a heartbeat of its own. And that's the whole point. I do have to tell you that they just got their first franchise inquiry just a few months into the development being done. And it is such a win to see all of this coming to life and seeing the proof of this work and just how powerful it is. And so you might be asking, especially if you've been around this world for a little while, what is the difference between being a personality and this term personal branding? Because that's everywhere. Now, personal branding can be great for speakers, authors, to really find their voice and to know who they are and to be able to communicate that. But where I push back on that is I don't think the person should be the brand. And I totally agree that our brands, our businesses need a face to them. I actually think it is wildly important. But I also fully believe that our brands and our businesses should have their own identities, their own uniqueness, their own heartbeat. You can grow that. You can scale that. You can find freedom in that. But if not, it all depends on you. Now, that's a scary thing to sit with, but I have to tell you that figuring it out and doing it well is also the thing that will set you free. The work that we do with the founders and businesses we work with is deep and it can be slow and it can for sure be uncomfortable at times to extract what's in their head and put that into the business. Their own solution statement, writing it down, crafting it really carefully, making sure it aligns, positioning them well, building out their voice into something that, even a team can learn and speak on their behalf, figuring out their values, their differentiators, their offers, the language, all of it. As a founder, all of that already lives in your head. But to pull it out and to develop it, it means that when you go and hire someone, the new person has something to learn. When you go and take a vacation, your business doesn't fall apart. So that when it's actually time to grow or scale the work that you've worked so hard in, there's actually a repeatable process that you can follow. That is what brand strategy for the business looks like. It can live beyond you. It is not glamorous. It is not always fun, although we do love this work. And it's certainly not usually the part that gets shared on Instagram and, that people talk about all the time. But it is the part that determines whether or not you have a business in 5 years or whether you burned out so badly and you just go back to a regular job. And you might be thinking, Lacy, I'm a solopreneur. I don't even have a team. This doesn't apply to me yet. But listen to me, it applies to you more than anyone. Because founders who do this work before they hire are the ones who hire well. They're the ones who can actually train someone. They're the ones who don't end up 6 months down the road into realizing that this person you've hired has no idea how to talk about your business because there was nothing for you to inform them with. The work of building the brand strategy outside of yourself is the work that literally makes everything else possible. And now, with the capabilities of AI today, there is a way to get so much more relief almost immediately. than there was at least that was available to me when I've struggled with this the most over the last decade. And so I want to leave you with a question. And I want you to actually sit with this. Don't just hear me now, right now, and move on. If you got the flu tomorrow and you couldn't work for 2 weeks, what part of your business would fall apart? I want you to be specific. Would it be sales? Would it be client communication? Would it be your marketing, creating your content, operations on the back end? Whatever just made you go like, "Oh god." Like that's your bottleneck. And you may have more than one. Hey, I have been there. There has been times where if you would have asked me that question, I would have just curled up in a ball and said all of it. It would all burn to the ground. And that might be the case for you too, and that's okay. There's a place to get started. It's fine. But that's going to tell you where you need to start and which part of your business needs the most work right now so that you can start to shift this. I want that for you. I'm still answering these questions for myself all the time. Every quarter, I find another thing that I'm holding on to too tightly. Every quarter, I have to have a date with myself to go through these exercises and to get realigned on where I'm slowing things down in my business. Even when the voices in my head are just saying, just do it yourself, it'll be faster. It's never faster. Sometimes it just feels faster in the moment to do it myself, but that's not always the right way. The work of getting the brand strategy out of your head and into your business is honestly some of the hardest work you'll ever do as a founder because it requires you to admit that the business is not actually about you. It's about the people you serve and the problem you solve. And you, as the founder, you're the steward of that, not the center of that. And so, if you're in the thick of building a business, my guess is that there might have been some moments today that might feel a little bit like shots fired. And I do not mean for that to be the case, but I do hope that this was enough to encourage you to take a look at where bottlenecks might be showing up in your business and that this is giving you some clarity around how you can get some of these things off of your plate. I can assure you that we are just at the surface of this. This will not be the only time we talk about this on the show. There is so much more to come. This is just the beginning. But in the meantime, if today's episode has hit a nerve a bit, if you have recognized yourself in any of this, I want you to head over to endeavorbranding.com/quiz. Everything we've covered in this entire launch series is built into this quiz on purpose. This has all been done for you to help you through every step of getting clarity around these pieces of your business that are so important. It's going to tell you exactly where the brand strategy is currently living in your head versus actually being realized in your business. And you can get those results right now. It's 15 questions, 4 minutes long. And then if you want to talk through this a little bit deeper, book a call with me. There's a button at the end. Just book a call. Hop on my calendar. I would love to talk to you about this. I had one yesterday and it was so much fun to talk through all of these things with that business owner. Okay, so that's today's show. And I want to thank you for opening this. If you made it all the way through this episode, that shows a lot because you easily could have been like, oh, absolutely not. That's uncomfortable. Let's just skip it and turn it off. But if you sat through this one, thank you. And I'm so genuinely grateful that you were here with me as we start this journey together. And don't forget, if you're waiting for permission, if you're waiting for perfect, if you are waiting to feel ready, let this be your reminder. Ready, fire, aim. And I'll see you next time.